pour dire au revoir à Son Excellence, Monsieur.
Today, we celebrate a new chapter between China and Burkina Faso. This $40 billion maize partnership is not just about trade, it's about trust, cooperation, and shared growth. China values Burkina Faso's rich farmlands and hard-working farmers. Together, we will feed millions, strengthen economies, and build a future where both our nations prosper.
5 million tons of maize, $40 billion, and one African leader bold enough to change the global agricultural game. This is not a rumor, it's not speculation, it's the reality unfolding right now between Burkina Faso and China under the leadership of Ibrahim. A nation once overlooked on the world stage has just signed an agricultural trade deal so massive, it could change Africa's place in the global food chain forever. Think about it. China, the world's most populous country, has just chosen Burkina Faso as a primary supplier for one of the most essential foods on earth, and we're not talking peanuts here. We're talking 5 million tons of maize over the next decade, worth a staggering $40 billion. Why would China turn to West Africa for its food security? How did negotiate a deal that beats out much bigger economies? And what does this mean for the farmers, the economy, and Africa's global influence? Stay locked in, because here on AfricVibe News, we don't just tell you what happened, we break down why it matters, how it happened, and how it will shape the future. This is Burkina Faso's $40 billion maize revolution. Maize or corn is more than just food. It's a strategic commodity, from feeding millions to powering industries. Maize is used in staple foods like porridge, bread and noodles, livestock feed for poultry, cattle, and pigs, industrial products like starch, ethanol, and biofuels globally. Maize is the most produced grain with over 1.2 billion tons grown each year. But here's the catch. Demand is outpacing supply. China consumes over 280 million tons of maize every year. Most of this comes from its own fields, but climate pressures, shrinking farmland, and rising meat consumption have created a maize gap. That gap is what Ibrahim has now stepped in to fill. If you had asked 10 years ago which African country could become a top maize supplier to China, Burkina Faso wouldn't have made the list. The landlocked nation was better known for cotton, sesame, and livestock. But under S leadership, maize has become a national priority. Key developments included irrigation programs in the Muhun and Center Nord regions, distribution of drought-resistant maize seeds to farmers, formation of farmer cooperatives for better bargaining power, government-backed storage facilities to reduce post-harvest losses. From 800,000 tons in 2014, Burkina Faso's maize production has grown to 2.3 million tons in 2024, and near tripling in just a decade. And now, with the Chinese deal, production is expected to double again by 2030. The journey began in early 2024 when Burkina Faso's trade delegation visited Beijing. Initially framed as a food security partnership, the talks quickly zeroed in on maize. China's key demands were guaranteed annual supply of 500,000 tons for 10 years, quality assurance to meet strict import standards, consistent shipping schedules, Burkina Faso's conditions, fair pricing linked to global market rates, not donor aid prices, upfront infrastructure investments in storage and transport, technology transfer for modern farming techniques. After months of negotiation, the two sides agreed. $40 billion total trade value over 10 years, joint investment in new maize processing plants in Ouagadougou and Bobo-Dioulasso. Chinese-funded rural road upgrades to move crops from farm to port, agricultural scholarships for students in Chinese universities. This was more than a trade deal, it was a strategic alliance. S approach to trade is simple but revolutionary for Africa. No raw exports without value. For the maize deal, that means local processing first before shipping to China. A portion of the maize will be processed into flour, starch, and animal feed locally. Farmer empowerment, farmers will be guaranteed higher farm gate prices, with government subsidies for equipment and inputs. Infrastructure legacy, new roads, silos, and rail links built for maize will also serve other industries, as himself stated at the signing ceremony. We are not just exporting maize, we are exporting jobs, skills, and the future of Burkina Faso. China could have sourced maize from South America, Eastern Europe, or even the US, but Burkina Faso offered geopolitical alignment, strong ties with China's Belt and Road Initiative partners, climate advantage, reliable rainfall patterns in key maize-growing regions, organic-friendly practices, less use of synthetic chemicals, appealing to China's health-conscious urban consumers, regional access through the AES alliance. Burkina Faso's transport corridors are increasingly secure and efficient. For China, this is not just about maize, it is about building a long-term African supply chain independent of Western influence. Before this deal, many maize farmers sold to middlemen for as little as $800 per ton. Now, export contracts guarantee 1200-1400 per ton. Afrique News visited Koudougou and Tenkodogo, where farmers are already seeing changes. Moussa Diallo, a 52-year-old farmer, said, "Before, we grew maize to survive. Now we grow maize to build our future. I can finally buy a tractor, send my children to school, and improve my land." Women's cooperatives are also benefiting, as maize processing plants employ and train local women in packaging and quality control. The maize deal will pump billions into Burkina Faso's economy, affecting transport, thousands of new jobs in trucking and rail, manufacturing, local maize-based product factories, education, agricultural training programs funded by export profits. Economists predict the deal could raise Burkina Faso's GDP by 2–3 annually, lifting hundreds of thousands out of poverty. This deal signals a new phase in Africa-China relations. China secures a stable food supply. Burkina Faso gains leverage and independence from traditional Western trade routes. The AES bloc strengthens its position as a united economic force. Some Western analysts are uneasy, calling it China's food diplomacy in Africa. But for Burkina Faso, it's a chance to define trade on its own terms. No deal is without risks. Climate change could impact yields. Infrastructure delays could hurt delivery schedules. Market dependency could be dangerous if prices fall. However, diversification plans are already in motion, including opening maize export markets in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. At Afrique News, we see this as more than maize. It's a blueprint for African trade independence. It shows that African nations can negotiate long-term, high-value contracts. Farmers can benefit directly from international deals. Infrastructure built for one sector can power an entire economy. From the maize fields of Burkina Faso to the bustling streets of Beijing, this 40 billion partnership is proof that Africa's agricultural future is bright and it is in African hands. You've been watching Afrique News, where Africa's stories lead the global conversation. Don't just watch history, share it.